Welcome, everyone. Today we're taking a closer look at the latest surrounding Ukraine and Russia.
That's right. Specifically, we'll be examining President Zelensky's strategy.
Yeah, how he's navigating these really complex relationships with the U.S. and Russia.
And also his vision, for Ukraine's future.
We're drawing heavily on insights from that recent 60 Minutes interview he gave.
Which offers a really direct window into his thinking at this, well, critical time.
The whole geopolitical situation is just incredibly fluid, isn't it?
Absolutely. Shifting alliances, the conflict grinds on. It's a lot.
So our goal here is to kind of unpack the key elements using Zelensky's own words as our guide.
Exactly. Trying to understand the challenges and maybe the potential ways forward.
Okay, let's start with what seems like a really pivotal moment in U.S.-Ukraine relations.
Right. The interview itself felt framed by this sense of uncertainty in the alliance.
Definitely. And what immediately jumped out was Zelensky's invitation to former President Trump.
To come to Ukraine, see it firsthand.
Yeah. What's your take on that?
Well, it's more than just, a simple invitation. It feels very strategic.
How so?
He's reaching out to someone with huge influence in American politics, possibly trying to give a direct, unfiltered view.
Bypassing maybe the usual diplomatic routes.
Potentially. It's definitely a high-stakes kind of play.
And all this is happening against this backdrop of just immense human suffering.
That's crucial context. Just before the interview, that horrific attack on the school in Kryvyi, School 41.
9 children killed. It's just gut-wrenching.
And you heard that reflected in Zelensky's words. He talked about 100% hatred for Putin.
Understandable. Completely. You felt the weight of it, even in the setting.
Doing the interview in a school bomb shelter.
Yeah. But even with that intense emotion, he did acknowledge something important, didn't he?
He did. That eventually diplomacy will be necessary to end the war.
So pragmatism mixed with that raw anger.
It seems so. A very difficult balance, I imagine. But it points to a maybe long-term view, however painful.
And that leads into his deep distrust of Russia.
He was very clear. We can't trust Russia. We can't trust negotiations with Russia. Full stop.
And he backed that up. This wasn't just rhetoric.
No, not at all. He cited some truly horrifying statistics.
The daily strikes, the attacks on schools, 1,700 schools hit.
600 children killed, almost 800 attacks on hospitals, clinics.
13,000 civilians dead. And the soldier casualties. Potentially up to 100,000 Ukrainian soldiers.
It's staggering. He called it the highest price possible.
Paid because of what he termed Putin's vanity war.
It really drives home the sheer scale of the tragedy.
And it's this reality, this suffering that he's trying to get across, especially, it seems, in the U.S.
Yeah, amidst what he clearly sees as shifting narratives there.
He brought up past statements from former President Trump.
Right, downplaying Russian aggression, the false claim Ukraine started it.
Even calling Zelenskyy a dictator. How did Zelenskyy respond to those points specifically?
With palpable disbelief, really. Basically asking, how could anyone look at the facts on the ground and reach those conclusions?
He blames Russia's information policy for influencing some of that.
That's how he framed it. He seems to believe there's a deliberate effort by Russia to, shape public opinion internationally, including in the U.S.
He even talked about a specific meeting, didn't he? That disastrous Oval Office meeting.
Yes, back in February. He felt he was hearing Russia's narrative directly from Trump officials.
Wow. That must have been deeply alarming for him.
You could sense the frustration, especially when the idea came up that somehow both sides were suffering equally.
The invader and the invaded.
Exactly. He called it a shift in reality. Basically refused to even engage with it.
His stance is unequivocal.
Absolutely. Russia is the aggressor. Ukraine is the victim. End of story for him.
Which brings us back around to that Trump invitation.
It makes more sense in that context, doesn't it?
It really does. It wasn't just politeness.
No, it felt like a very deliberate, almost desperate appeal.
Come see the reality. The civilians, the soldiers.
The hospitals, the churches, the dead children. He was explicit.
And he made a point of saying it wouldn't be staged.
Not be theater with preparing actors. He wants an unvarnished look.
So the goal isn't just shock value. It's about grounding future talks in reality.
Precisely. So that whoever might be involved in a deal understands exactly with whom you have a deal, as he put it.
Understands Putin's actions for what they are.
That seems to be the core objective. Let the facts on the ground speak for themselves.
Okay, so after that, the conversation shifted to U.S. support, which is obviously critical.
Hugely critical. And his answer was nuanced.
How so?
He acknowledged the U.S. as a strategic, strong partner, definitely, But he also used the word doubt.
Stemming from the pause in aid.
Exactly. That pause, driven by political debates here in the U.S., clearly created anxiety.
It sounds like it really weighs on him.
It does. He voiced this concern that, in a long war, people forget details, the urgency fades.
And a fear in Europe, too.
Yeah, a fear that the U.S. might drift away, lose focus.
What did he say would happen if U.S. support dried up?
His assessment was pretty blunt. Great losses, human and territorial.
But he also sounded determined to continue regardless.
Absolutely. Unwavering resolve. He said it's about our land, our life, a fight for existence.
It's a powerful message. And we should probably remember the scale of aid already provided.
It's significant. Around $175 billion total, with maybe $100 billion of that military aid.
From Zelensky's point of view, what has that investment achieved for Americans?
He framed it as defending shared values, protecting not just Ukraine, but Europe as a whole.
And he made that poignant point.
The ones dying right now are Ukrainians, implying the aid helps protect others, too.
He also connected current doubts to past events, right, under the Trump administration.
The earlier reduction in aid, the failure of those announced partial ceasefires.
Reinforcing his core belief about Putin.
Exactly, that Putin can't be trusted, that he never wanted an end to the war, never wanted an independent Ukraine.
What does Zelensky see as Putin's ultimate endgame?
To destroy us completely, he said. Sovereignty, people, everything. And then to expand Russia right up to NATO's doorstep.
These aren't exactly new warnings from him.
No, but the ongoing war seems to have only hardened his conviction.
And the situation on the ground now, it's grim.
Very grim. About 20% of Ukraine occupied. A 600-mile front line.
Basically frozen, like trench warfare.
Sort of, yeah. But with modern tech, like drones, making it incredibly lethal.
And the estimated Russian casualties? 200,000.
That's the figure often cited. A horrific toll, though the impact on Ukrainian civilians remains devastatingly central.
So with all this as the backdrop, what does a just peace look like for Zelensky? What are his terms?
Fundamentally, it's about sovereignty and independence. Full stop.
Meaning getting all occupied territory back.
Yes. Reclaiming all temporarily occupied lands. He's adamant about that, even if the timeline is unclear.
And beyond territory.
Justice. He talked about the irreplaceable loss of life and the need for accountability, holding perpetrators responsible.
That seems non-negotiable for him.
Absolutely. Justice is a core part of his vision for any real peace.
And what about a ceasefire? What conditions does he lay out for that?
It needs teeth. Guarantees for Ukraine's security going forward.
Like what specifically?
He mentioned an international peacekeeping force. And crucially, he wants U.S. involvement in that.
Including air defense support?
Potentially, yes. He understands Ukraine needs robust, long-term security assurances, not just a pause in fighting.
It's a very different picture from, say, former President Trump's claims of ending the war immediately.
Oh, completely different. Those claims might sound appealing, but Zelensky's view is grounded in the harsh realities.
Realities like the missile strikes on Palm Sunday in Sumy.
Exactly. More civilian deaths, including children. The war doesn't pause for optimistic statements.
Wrapping this up, what does Zelensky see as the ultimate stakes here?
It's bigger than Ukraine, in his view. He said, security of the world is at stake.
He genuinely believes a lack of resolve will encourage Putin.
Yes. He sees it as a real threat, not just speculation, that Putin will push further.
Reviving the Russian Empire, reclaiming NATO lands.
That's his assessment of Putin's ambition, which of course has huge implications for NATO members.
Including the U.S.
Directly. He warned it could escalate into a world war.
Leaving not a safe place for anyone. A very stark warning.
It really is. It underscores the gravity of the situation from his perspective.
Well, President Zelensky's words certainly paint a vivid, if sobering, picture of the conflict in this critical moment.
They absolutely do. You really get a sense of the immense human cost and the broader implications for global stability.
His directness, his appeals for understanding, and that fierce commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty. It's powerful.
It provides a crucial lens, doesn't it, for trying to grasp the complexities here. The challenges are just enormous.
They really are, requiring very careful thought about what genuine peace and stability might look like.
We can certainly close with the earnest hope that somehow a path toward a better future for Ukraine emerges from all this.
Yes, a path that finally ends this devastating war and allows the Ukrainian people to live in peace once again.